KCC311 week number 2. This is the second video about how we're going to group non-quantitative data. Now, the first video we were talking about this, but if you can create a coding chart, or I call it a reference chart, where you list for me all the states in the U.S., and then you tell me through your own experience, your own perception, your own opinion, you group them. You say, okay, well, here's the states, here's the different regions of the U.S. We saw some other examples. I said, okay, here's all the football teams that people might like, and you say, okay, well, I'll group them by the conference, NFC or AFC. What was the other example we talked about? We talked about hotels. I say, what if I talk to a hotel and ask the age of the children who come with the guests? You can take the age of children and you can group them by toddlers, children, preteen, teens, and that sort of thing. I like coding charts. I like reference charts because it's quote-unquote common sense. I don't have to worry about formulas. I can use my own experience, or in this case, my own interest, football, and I can group information easily. Okay, that's good, but how do we connect it to my big data set? And I'm going to walk you through, and this will take a formula. This will be a little more technical, but we're going to take your personal groupings. Here's the football teams. I group them NFC, AFC. Here's the children. I group them by different categories. I'm going to take your perceptions and connect them to our big data set. We're going to need a formula, but we'll break it down step by step. Okay, I'm going to start with a football example right here. So first thing we need to do, we need to go right next to the data set that I have. I need to keep a blank column because this is where I'm going to put the groups. I'm going to connect my coding chart to my data set. In the top of that chart, in the top of that column, hit equals. The equals is the first step to get my Excel or Google Sheets. Every formula I'm using here will go on both. That the equals is the first step to getting a formula. The name of the formula we need to use is VLOOKUP. And you can start to type it and you'll see it pops up underneath. You double click and it shoots you this little parenthesis. The parenthesis says, all right, tell me what I'm connecting here. The first thing you need to connect when you type this VLOOKUP formula, you need to click the data set that or the data observation you have. In this case, somebody said, hey, my favorite team's the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, you click that Dallas Cowboys, don't type it, just click the Dallas Cowboys, and you hit a comma. Oops, I hit the wrong button. Hit a comma. That comma, now it says table array. Table array is a fancy name for what is that coding chart, the reference chart. Well, my reference chart is right here. I could highlight just that, but you know what? I'm actually going to go one step more. I'm going to highlight both F and G because it encompasses that entire stretch of my spreadsheet. So first thing you click is the data, comma, then you click the coding chart, comma. Now the next thing it says col index number. All you need to do is type the number 2. What does 2 mean? It means my group is in the second part of that formula. Uh-oh. A little mix up here. Okay, first number A4 is my data. Second F and G is the coding chart, and then the next thing is the number 2. 2 means I'm looking at the second part of that chart, and then the last thing you need to type. And this is a little hard for me to explain, so frankly I'm not even going to try. Just go ahead and type it. Don't worry about the Y. You just need to type the word false, just like that. If you say, well, why is false coming in? Don't even worry about it. The critical thing is the first 3, but the false is part of this formula as well. So I type false, put that parenthesis, hit enter. It says NFC. That's good because guess what? Dallas Cowboys is the NFC. All right. You could go here and type the formula again, but the power of the spreadsheet is it will continue the formula to take care of all of my big data. How do you do that? Look in the corner. There's that little square. Go on top of the square, not that one. You have to get this little black cross, just like that. Click the black cross and pull it down. And it should fill that formula right down the line. And look at this. Let's test one. AFC. Pittsburgh Steelers, AFC. Okay, go over to my chart. Pittsburgh Steelers, AFC. All right, the formula works. It takes the data and groups it according to my reference, my categorization, my coding chart. Let me pull that formula, use that little black cross and pull it all the way down. And in just a matter of seconds, I can now group all of my, in this case, 73 data sets. Okay, whoops, I forgot the Jacksonville Jaguars. My fault. But what have I done? I've been able to take my grouping and apply it to a bigger data set. Now, this is 73 football teams. That's not so bad, but certainly if you look at McDonald's and you look at 14,000 restaurants, this is going to be very important to be able to do something like this quickly. So let me walk through this process again. This VLOOKUP formula let me walk through it again in the second example. So the hotel, we were talking about the children. Now, if I have a 1-year-old, I look at my chart, I know a 1-year-old's a toddler. But do I want to make that judgment, whoa, 200 times in a row? Not particularly. Let's do the formula. The formula will simplify that. So I hit equals. First step is always equals. Type the VLOOKUP, and you see it right there. Double click it. Now, first thing, lookup value. I'm looking up this because that's my data. Comma. Table array. That's my reference chart, my coding chart. I'm going to highlight the O and the P because that's that encompasses my chart. Comma. Col index number. Remember, I'm looking for the second part of that chart. So I type a 2. Comma. Don't ask why, just type the word false. You got to spell it right. So number 1 is a toddler. Yeah. Let me pull it down just a little bit, see if it works. 16-year-old, yep, that's a teen. 9-year-old, a child. 14-year-old, teen. 11-year-old, a preteen. All right, it looks like my categorization went over to my data set, and you can pull this all the way down, and in just a matter of moments, I have classified 200 guests at my hotel. If you own this hotel, that's a quick way to start to analyze data. That's a quick way to, quote-unquote, see my population. I was wrong. My goodness, I got over 300. Okay, but look at that. In just a second, it's 312 guests at my hotel, and I was able to categorize them very quickly. So that's the power of this VLOOKUP formula. Every single time, equals VLOOKUP, click the number, click the chart, comma 2, comma false. Okay, so this is all well and good, and for the homework, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing for the all the McDonald's restaurants in the U.S. And real briefly, look at, I made up this is a very synthetic coding chart, if you notice, because I didn't even put a real region. I put up, down, left, right. Well, I'm going to let you determine north, south, Midwest, New England, Pacific Coast, mountain states. I'll let you figure out all those regions of the U.S. But how would we categorize that for the big data? Well, first of all, here's the states. We got to categorize each state by region. So this data right here, this zip code, I don't need it, so I'm going to hit delete and get rid of it. How come? Because I wanted to use the region. How do I get the region? Equals VLOOKUP, because I don't want to have to type this information every time. VLOOKUP, I double click, lookup value. I want to look up the state, comma, the table array. Remember, here's my table array right there. All of my I'm using up, down, left, right. You'll use north, south, Midwest, Pacific Coast, Gulf Coast, all those sort of things. Comma, column index number. We're looking for the second version, comma, false. And look, it says Florida is in the down region. Florida is in the down region. Nice. The formula works. And I can pull this, and I go down there. It says Connecticut is in the left region. Connecticut is in the left region. So this is an effective way to get 14,000 restaurants categorized. However, you need to be able to do this. And that's common sense. That's you. If you take out a U.S. map, you can say, oh, Connecticut, well, that's really in the Northeast. Indiana, that's in the Midwest. Maryland, you could say that's Mid-Atlantic. There's all different ways to break up the United States. I'll let you pick, and then you connect it to the big data set. So you're going to put all those steps together to get week number 3 homework. And then the very last thing I'll do, I'm going to say, wait a minute, this helps me see 300 guests to my hotel very quickly. That's nice. But we can actually do one step better, because you can take that and let's make a graph out of it. What are my categories? Well, we have toddlers. What else do we have? We have, okay, children. We have preteen. And we have teens. And we just categorized 300 guests at a hotel. How can we count those? Let's use COUNTIF. This is back from week number 2. I want to count all of these people, and I want to see how many are toddlers. And Excel tells me there's 76 toddlers in my hotel. If you're a hotel manager, maybe that tells you, okay, I got to have more booster seats, or I got to have this or that prepared for those type of guests in my hotel. Equals COUNTIF. What am I counting? I'm counting all my 300 guests at a hotel, and I'm trying to count how many are children. And I get 183. Okay, great. So, maybe the restaurant, we'll make sure they have chicken fingers. We want to make sure they have coloring on the menu. Or that, you understand what I'm saying? Is if you're running a restaurant, if you're running a hotel, this information helps you tell, okay, this is what I have to be prepared for. COUNTIF. I'm counting this group, and I'm trying to see how many are preteens. There's 30. Equals COUNTIF. And by the way, I'm typing the formula 4 times just to reinforce it, but you could click the box and pull it right down. How many teens do I have in my hotel? 19. Okay. Highlight all of this. I can go up to insert and I could say make a pie chart. And it tells me, it shows me, once again, I can see that data better. I'm looking at 300 guests in my hotel with just one little graph. Maybe I'm not feeling that. Maybe I want to make a bar chart. Okay, that works as well. You get the idea. So, last video, you were going to make categorization. You're going to use these coding charts, reference charts. In this video, now you're making sure you understand the VLOOKUP. And also, you can go ahead and connect that VLOOKUP to a COUNTIF, and you can make a graph. So piece all those steps together. There's a lot going on, I understand. Some of it is your judgment, some of it is a formula. Piece it all together, and you can put it together to make a graph, which you will use in the week 3 assignment. You got any questions about all this process? There's a lot of process, but if you have any questions, please reach out via email, and hopefully we can figure out how to make it work.